I would speed walk it, though.
I can speed walk.
Yeah.
No, speed walking. Yes, that's perfect. I
Having a
highly
good conversation.
exactly having a that part. No. It's if you can run or speed walk. If you get active, you are a higher being. You are elevated. All right, everybody. Good morning. It's so good to have y'all here. Thank you so much for joining our panel. I hope that you all leave with something, some strategies, some notes, some tips, ideas, because hopefully this information is applicable on every level of your professional journey. I'm Chelsea Bites. It's nice to meet y'all. I don't want to start and forget exactly, oh yeah, they don't know us personally. I'm going to read the description of my panel, how I wrote it last year, so y'all can see how I judge myself in real time. Now, making content professionally can often mean doing things that don't quite line up with your usual, or even spending time on other channels, programs instead of your own. How you decide, how do you decide when to do more outside of your channel? Or at what point does focusing on your base start damaging your brand? I know that sounds so contradictory, but I promise you it made sense in my head. I'm Chelsea Bites. I am Twitch's Unity Guild's Women's Guild leader. I am a part of a global initiative, and we were the first global guild to open up, where we want to amplify women's voices, give them more access to the platform they're investing their time in, as well as giving them more opportunities to go out and succeed in their content career and just feel less alone, because it's already really easy to get on a platform that's supposed to be a social media site and feel othered, feel like you don't belong. Besides all of that very important work, on my personal side, I am a G2 esports content creator. I also work with DTS. I've gotten to be an on-camera host, so I've worked with Amazon. I just worked with Minecraft, which was wild. I know, right? I made sure to go and get some real experience to bring back to this panel. But that's me. I'm gonna go down with our guests. We'll start here.
My name is Tony Moy. I'm a watercolorist and comic artist, and now comic writer. So my brand has definitely sort of changed over the years and evolved. Currently, my current project is about the most decorated unit of soldiers in U.S. history during World War II, a segregated battalion of Japanese American soldiers fought in Europe that not many people realize that were actually there. Many of them were fighting while their families, or they came from, the internment camps. By the end of the war, those 10,000 Japanese Americans earned more than 18,000 medals. The most decorated unit of soldiers in the U.S. history that I did not realize was a minority that was fighting while they were actively being persecuted in the U.S. And I think that story kind of holds still. So I created a webtoon. It's free to read, and also translating that into a print comic and graphic novel as well. But it's an entirely watercolored comic.
Wow. What's it called?
It's called The 442nd. I'll be giving one of these away. It just came out hot off the presses. I'll give you one of these away at the end of this. Yeah.
Oh my God, y'all, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Get amazing panelists that bring giveaway items that have such importance to it. Oh my goodness, that is so generous. Thank you.
No problem.
Hi, Katie.
Hi. It's good to see you. Hi, everybody. My name is Kate Osborne. I go by Katieosaurus on the internet. I'm a full-time content creator. And as my brand has developed and changed, I've been fortunate enough to be able to add author and writer and podcaster and voiceover actor and I guess just regular actor and TTRPG performer. And I think there's a couple other that I'm forgetting because it's still early. But yeah, so I do a lot of stuff a lot of the time. Most recently, I have a new podcast through understood.org called Sorry I Missed This, which is about ADHD and how it impacts intimacy, communication, relationships, and sex. I get to say this finally finally this weekend, and I'm really excited. I have a column in Playboy magazine. No, what? And it is about sexuality and disability and neurodivergency and how they combine. And I'm very excited about that. And I have a book coming out through Simon and Schuster next either summer or fall. They're still deciding. So yeah, I've got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm really happy to be here.
Hey. Hi.
Hi, I am Jason Doro. I'm a fantasy author and also a voiceover artist. And about close to 3 years ago, I started creating content on Book Talk as well. And my main focus is on my writing. I write primarily epic fantasy. Right now, I'm working on historical fantasy. I'm doing a Viking reimagining of Macbeth as my next book that's coming out. And so I see attention there, but I'm excited about that. But I started doing Book Talk to promote the writing that I was doing, and then found that I really enjoyed the community there, and so started making videos about writing, about indie publishing, and encouraging other authors and making that kind of content. And it's ended up that that's what I'm most known for, is the TikTok stuff that I do. And I try to sort of balance that with the actual writing, and then the voiceover stuff pays the rest of the bills. But that's what I do.
So,
Hello, I am Bar Fox. I am a television and film producer. I'm a television and film producer. I'm also the creator of Cosplay Your Way. I currently have a documentary that combines both of my worlds, television and film and cosplay, that is airing on Amazon Prime. It's called Cosplay Your Way in Color. I'm very proud of that project. Yeah. So I do a number of shows that's on the air. We can discuss it off the mic if you want to know which shows they are. Some of them are a little racy. But they are national shows. I started off as an editor, moved on to become a producer. I have worked on a variety of formats, from docuseries, documentaries, to short film, long sizzles, short form. I've done it all, but I really love doing docuseries and documentaries. I really do. So please check it out.
sure.
Cool. Hello, I'm Nick Lyle, or Cosplay and Optimism on Instagram. I'm a cosplayer and therapist, licensed clinical mental health counselor, certified dialectical behavior therapist, and more so than being a creator, besides a creator of cosplays, I work with creators, and I come into spaces like this to be able to help, answer questions, advocate for mental health, offer support, and help people find ways that they can help set their world up in a way that's going to be meaningful for them.
Beautiful. Nice. Wow. Y'all, amazing. And we have to talk about our track sponsor and, of course, our charity before we really get into the meat of it. So thank you to our track sponsor for 2024. They are Zakat. For over 22 years, they've been empowering lives through disaster relief, food distribution, orphan care, and more. Their top-notch ratings from Charity Navigator and Triple B Wise Giving Alliance means your contributions are going to make a difference. Please head over to zakat.org. That is ZAKAT. And QR codes are on the tape. They may be on the table. They are right here. And I got you. If you don't mind, is that yours? Is that your QR code? It's right there. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't survey the. We should scan that one too. I don't know if that's I love QR codes. Scan it. Also, the Dragon Con charity for 2024 is the Arthritis Foundation, #1 cause of disability. Arthritis affects nearly 60 million adults and hundreds of thousands of children. Dragon Con is going to match up to $125,000. Last year, we raised $272,000 for the 2023 charity. So let's not stop here. I would love for us to put a few coins down. Thank you so much, Dragon Con, for making that happen. That is amazing. So I know it's early, so I'm going to fluff for y'all just for like a minute. And I'm just going to give you context as to why I had this question in my head. And I just kind of want y'all to hop in naturally because I'm curious about what drew y'all to this panel. So for me, I knew when I started on Twitch, I didn't start with the intention of making money because that's a hard goal. It's not a bad goal. If you want to get on Twitch and make money, that is a very feasible goal. It's just going to be difficult depending on how you approach it. You may have to sell some of your morals if you want to make money fast. It is what it is. Or maybe you don't have those, and that's fine. And you just go in there, you get it done. Your success, your success depends on you. It's very much your speed. But for me, I knew I just really enjoyed just talking to my community. I know I enjoy getting on and playing whatever game I wanted. Variety streamer. I can't stick to anything. I didn't commit to something or let people put me in a box very early on. So very quickly, while I was able to do my variety content, I still was putting my best self out there, and I got very lucky that people were reaching out for me to do professional work with them. So my first job was a man on the street interview with Comcast. Man, if you go to UCLA, they will tear you apart, child. But yeah, I went out there on my backpack. I flew out from Sacramento and I got to work, and that snowballed from there. But that meant I wasn't streaming. And you already know how streamers are. I was never like this. I was never like, I just can't leave my stream. I can't leave. They'll never, I'll get back on. It's like they'll have amnesia and they'll forget who I am. And no, I was like, we have a Discord. I've been talking to you every day. I've streamed 109 hours this month. You know who I am. I'm going out. You should be happy for me that I got this job.
Right.
And just doing the math, because I'm also a computer scientist. So the logic will never escape me. It just never will. The numbers will never escape me. And just to give you a boost, if you are streaming or you're doing anything on any platform and you're seeing any sort of activity, you are probably like the top 5, if not 1%, because the platform is already so saturated. People are streaming to 0 viewers sometimes, and bless their hearts. I hope they climb out of that as soon as possible, because that's not fun. But you are probably doing way better than you think you are. So at that size, when I knew I was probably doing better than most people thought, or I was doing better than most people. Hey, girl, it's words. You can do it. I was doing better than I thought I was, and than most people on that platform. So I knew that it was okay to take some risks. Like, yes, I can't stream, but this is going to be better for me professionally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to meet people in the space who are going to remember me for their work. Yes, talk to those producers. Yes, talk to those cast, your cast, everything. And that snowballed into huge opportunities, because they literally came back and they're like, we know Chelsea can do the job. Yeah, she's got like 10 viewers, but Chelsea can do the job. There's no reason why she can't host this thing with Cooler Master. Yeah, I built computers on that stream if you didn't.
I love
Yes. So I want to know, that's just my background, and anybody can hop in because it's early. We're not fighting over the mic. I want to know when that dilemma, that struggle where you were like, man, I know I should probably be doing this. I should probably be streaming, like, and I just say streaming just as my word. I know it can be, you don't have to have like a community that you check in with every day. Just in your community as a creator, as a professional, what you're supposed to be doing to be successful in your career, because success is different to everybody, versus what's worked for you or what you're comfortable with. There you go. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, the TikTok algorithm, I'm primarily on TikTok, and when I started on it, I did all kinds of research, because I'm a computer science person as well, went to Georgia Tech, and so did all the research on what I needed to do to get seen on there and get some traction. And they say you need to make at least 4 videos a day on TikTok to get things going there, and I did that for like a year and a half. And I was doing it at the service of trying to get readers for my books, trying to grow my community. And I did build a community around my TikTok account, but it wasn't necessarily directly translating into people who would read my books and buy my books. I had people who enjoyed my videos, that I was giving tips on how to write, how to do the business of indie publishing and to promote, do all that kind of stuff. And I had readers too, but it was kind of like 2 different audiences. And it came to a point where I realized that podcast interviews that I was doing the TikTok videos, all of that was unsustainable if I was actually going to continue writing the books and getting the books out on time, which was my my primary focus. So I had to find a balance there. And it's still something that I work and sort of struggle with, because I have this big community on Book Talk now that I love, that I enjoy engaging with. And sometimes it feels like a separate thing actually writing the books. And there's this adage that authors have that the best way to promote your last book is to write the next one. So I'm always trying to get the next book out. But at the same time, making all that content and sometimes doing TikTok lives, doing podcast interviews, doing all that kind of stuff takes so much time and energy. So whenever I do a podcast interview or something like that, I don't have energy to write for the rest of the day, because I'm an introvert myself and my battery runs out. And so that's when I realized I needed to figure out that balance. And like I said, it's sort of an ongoing thing, but I've gotten better at it.
Yeah, because how dare TikTok require people?
So much.
For video,
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all
Just
hop
about-
in. Because do y'all have something to add to that or comment on
Yeah,
that?
I love what you said, because it is a part of us. We get depleted, and I never had the numbers that I thought I should have on all of my things. I just don't have it. And then you look at other people and you're like, wow, 45,000, and you're like, well, why am I not getting there? But I'm so old school, because with my day job, I just don't have a lot of time to create 4 videos a day. I just don't. I wish I did. I just don't. So I'm really old school. So I stuck with reaching out to, connecting with, and engaging the people with the power to push the projects. And that's how I navigate around it. I just recently did a spot on Good Day Atlanta with Paul Milligan, and I loved it. It was wonderful. But do I have the numbers? No. But do I have the connections that got me to Paul, that got me to Fox 5? Yes. And do I come and I show up and I overperform? Yes. Yes. And overperform in a good way. I'm not a problem. I get you your stuff. I'm polished. I understand the business. So when you work with me, you get a polished product. I come through, I bring assets to the table, and that word of mouth, which is some of the oldest and best way to promote people, that word of mouth has gotten me into the spaces and places that I've been in successfully, and put me kind of not necessarily above, but in places where people trying to get the numbers, or that have the numbers, are trying to get to. I'm already sitting there. So it's really interesting to see. But I get them. I understand when they're like, you don't have my numbers, why is he there? But I am there. So
One of the challenges that I've faced as my career has kind of grown, as an artist, and when I was streaming a lot more on Twitch or whatever else, it was just okay, whatever I feel like drawing today, whatever I feel like painting today. Maybe even take an idea from the community, help them feel involved, grow that part of the community. Over the last year, I got a gig working with Marvel to provide some like Marvel artwork. So I can't show that right away. I can't even, I can't tell people about that. I've been doing more covers for variant covers. I'll be doing a cover for the TMNT Naruto things, right? But I can't show that, right? I can't stream that. I can't take shots of it. I have lots of video of the process, but that's a lot delayed. About 2 years ago, I was doing about 23 shows a year, traveling to that. And in that year, it was also in 4 different countries, right? It's tiring. And I had also started a little vodcast, if you will, with a watercolor friend of mine called Paint Bros. Think dueling pianos with watercolors, right? And we would stream that on Twitch and he got a gig doing some stuff for Star Wars. And so like that kind of faded, right? Because we're after doing a show, I've cut my shows down to a modest like 17 shows a year.
17.
Modest.
Yeah. So you do get, I totally feel when you say like, as not as an introvert, but as anyone, you just get like the day after, like Tuesday after DragonCon, I'm not going to say a word and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Takes a week to recover.
Right. It takes some time. So you don't feel, even if it's virtual, to do that. And so you had to kind of shift some of that energy and work into something that, hey, I'm doing something and I can share with you some point in the future, but for the next 6 months, 9 months, it's a bit of a dearth. And hopefully, so what I've been doing is sharing a little bit more of the day-to-day, the little things, the little sketches here and there, you know, as I do panels, usually I do a lot of sketch tools. They have me at these shows, Comic Cons and stuff like that. I've now started streaming that a little bit live. I have a little mounts and stuff like that whenever I do something live at shows, so people get to see me at shows, like, and I'm trying to, you know, yeah, kind of trying to eat and have my, and to still have my cake too, kind of a thing. And but it is a challenge, you know. Career is growing, getting better stuff to do, can't show it. You're gonna have to wait. And you know, one of the things I started doing with my my cohort is to do private streams to each other. You work on this Star Wars thing, I'm gonna work on this Marvel thing, and we're just gonna archive it for like 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
And so hopefully I'll be able to shove it out there. It's not gonna be live or anything else. But
it's more
but-
than they deserve.
yeah. and that happened. Like, we just had that epiphany. Like, we can't do it. Like, well, what if we recorded it and just saved it for like a year from now?
That's smart.
So we'll see.
I have a question. Because I've always wanted to ask people this because I'm like, am I the only one that feels like this? I'm sure we all had to sign NDAs.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, right?
absolutely.
So that first time you got one and you had to sign it, did it
Yeah.
just feel like it ripped like all of your ability to just talk and shit? Does it just feel
Yeah.
like it just took everything from you, and you know it was something that you wanted and you're gonna
Yeah.
sign?
Yeah.
But it was an
Yeah.
experience that first. I'm like, I just feel like I'm signing my life.
There's a
away.
lot of silent fist pumping, right? You're just like, where you can't like scream out, you can't do anything out, and you're just like, I'm gonna tell somebody at some point. But
That corporate tape on
Yeah.
your face.
so I have some friends who do magic cards, and he was telling me that they do have an NDA and stuff like that, but they know that magic artists like talk to magic artists. But then they have like another level of NDA where they don't even allow you to talk to other magic artists. I was like, what? I was like, yeah, it's like a super NDA on top of your regular NDA. And then I was like, yeah, it was like
Oh, you just taught me something. I didn't know super
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I just learned this weekend.
Oh yeah.
I'm currently under, I think, 3 different NDAs. And it like
I'm very proud of you about the second one. You did just
I
awesome.
know, right?
Congratulations.
And it's like I don't know, like it's been so interesting and weird. But to speak to the original question, for me, it actually became you're in this story, just so you know. But like when I first started out, I kind of did it backwards. Like I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll start doing every single platform that you can. Because that's what successful people do. And so I would make TikToks at 10, at 1, at 4, and at 7. And I did
I
that.
know those times.
Yeah. And I did that for a year and a half, and I built up my platform, and it was great. And I was exhausted, but at the same time, I wanted to be like Chelsea. I had like seen Chelsea's content, and I really looked up to you in the space. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is success. That's what success looks like. And to be successful, I have to be a Twitch streamer. So then I became like, so I streamed and I became a Twitch partner, and I did that for like at the same time that I'm doing these videos. And then at the same time I was like, but also I want to have a podcast. So I started a podcast, and the podcast goes like off crazy. And then, so I'm like, okay, so now I'm doing podcasts, I'm doing Twitch, I'm doing TikToks. And then I'm like, but also people want YouTube content. So I should probably start doing long form content. And then I get a book deal. So then I'm like writing a book and doing, and then finally, like, I was like, something has to give. Like something, I have to let go of something because I am not well. Like I am not okay. And so I looked at what I was doing, and I was like, what are my actual goals here? Like, what did I set out to do, which was educate and inform about the things that are important to me, and also play Dungeons and Dragons. And then out of that, I realized, like, as much as I like looked up to Chelsea and I was like, I want to be like Chelsea because she's so cool. I was like, there's no reason for me to be on Twitch. Like, aside from getting to interact with my community, which I love doing, it was taking hours and hours and hours out of my schedule every single day. And I was also that streamer who was like, I'm not going to take a break. I have to stream every single day. And I was like, I don't like video games. I don't like playing them. This is not interesting to me. So like, you know what I mean? And so I like forced myself. I'm like, this is the time. I'm finally gonna like World of Warcraft. And I was like, turns out, no, I still don't actually like games that much. I'm
But
like,
Baldur's Gate.
yeah.
But Baldur's Gate.
Okay, listen, I still haven't played it because I do not have time.
Oh no.
I do not have time.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah.
I bought it have 100 hours on it since it came out.
Yeah, I was like, no,
Very.
no. I was like, so I would like play like Mini Metro because I was like, I like Mini Metro. That's my favorite game because you just make a little subway and it's great. But so yeah, so for me, it was this really tough thing that happened. It happened about 6 months ago where I looked at my calendar and I realized, one, I'm booked out until 2026, and that is not counting the contractually obligated book tour. That's not counting the stuff that I'm doing with under NDA. Woo!
She almost got an exclusive.
We're gonna
It
take
is-
the vibe
Stop the
down
screen.
and
Stop the
start it.
screen. Stop the screen.
Schmidtical troll. No, it's fine. They're cool about it. But yeah, it was like one of those things where I was just like, I have to be realistic about my time, and I am still recovering from that very deep burnout, and I'm also doing
Yes.
about 20 shows a year.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it just became a question of like, what is actually important to me, and it was like writing, educating, and advocating, and also playing TTRPGs. So now, if it fits into that box, then I will say yes. I will make it happen. But otherwise, I'm like, I don't need to be doing this right now, and that's okay. So.
Exactly. I want to hear from you. Yes, please.
Yeah, so I'll kind of talk to like personal experience of like how like I had to like figure out how to show up in community spaces and networking events and stuff like that. Because when I first was becoming a therapist, when I was first getting trained, my supervisor was very much like, you fidget too much, you need to sit still, you need to make better eye contact, you need to do these things. I didn't lead by saying I have ADHD, autism, and dyslexia, but I do. And so I would go to events with other like, you know, therapists and stuff like that, and I would try so hard to sit still, and I would try so hard to be, you know, so professional, so engaged, be what I thought people wanted me to be. But like the moment that I started showing up in spaces just as my authentic neurodivergent self, I not only actually made real connections with people and stopped like burning out at events, I actually became a better therapist because I show up in the room with my clients and I'm like, this is my fidget toy, what do you have? And I found that it's made a way for people to feel like safer and more comfortable with me, but it's also made it more sustainable for me. I love doing panels and doing events, and I tend to do like at least like one con a month typically where I come and talk to nerds and support them. But when I'm able to come up here and just like, you know, like be stimmy and like the wings I had on earlier, not this set, I could make them go out. And so when I would talk with my hands, they would sort of open. And like that just made it so much more enjoyable for me. It was like, this is actually sustainable because I'm not just like, and today we're going to talk about dialectical behavior therapy. Step 1, you know?
That authenticity is so important with anything that we do. It's so much easier to be authentic than to put on a face and put on what you think people want. Because no matter who you are and what you do, there will be somebody who connects with you and who needs that. And it's so much easier and easier to relax into when you're your authentic self. So I definitely get that.
That's beautiful. I'm gonna hijack this because y'all are great, but I'm gonna remind y'all I'm the conductor here. Okay. But no, y'all really just y'all hit on some things that really, really spoke to me, which one, I love what you said about how you looked around you and you thought everybody else had more numbers than you. Like you didn't feel like you were I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I felt like I'm like, dang, I don't match this, but I'm here. And I think I want to see more about those moments if y'all have had those. But also, I want to know about if you've ever, I don't like pointing at people saying like, did you ever have a specific moment where, I want to know if you've ever had a feeling where you sat back and you were working on something, you were doing a job, you were doing a show because you had to do that show. And you had to go because you know contractually you were under 3 NDAs and yeah, I can't. And or you
2 super NDAs.
Yeah, 2 super NDAs. Or you were like, man, I would love to put this TikTok out, but I have to write this. Like that moment where you're like, I am doing something that's gonna keep me afloat right now. Like this is for me. Because there's a difference between your personal brand and your community. And I'll give you some context here. I tell my community that when I go out and I do a job, I'm like, hey, I'm going out for milk. I may be back. I'm here to get the brand money. I'm here to pay our way so I don't have to lean on you to pay for this to keep going. That's kind of how I've built that up, because my dream is just to build every computer under the sun, right? Like I would love to sit up, and I know that when I'm not doing that, this is my personal inner fight. When I am not building a computer, I am constantly saying, wow, am I really Chelsea Bites? Because like, what's the point of the bites at the end if you're not doing something comp sci or PC focused? Oh, Chelsea, why are you out here hosting for Minecraft? I'm like, well, Chelsea Bites is also a host too. Chelsea, she plays games too, like, and just trying to pick those things where you don't feel like you are detracting from what you're trying to put out there. So yeah, 2 moments. If y'all want to speak to either of those, that's fine. If you had one moment where you looked around and you were like, wow, I don't match, but I fit, like I'm here. And then that other moment where you're like, man, I'm doing this thing, but this isn't like completely what I envisioned. Like I'm doing it because I need to do it right now. But yeah, anybody want to step up? Katie, you you stepping up.
Oh, can I tell a completely self-indulgent story?
Please.
Is that okay? So, in one of the NDAs that I've been working on, this is such an embarrassing story. It's fine. But so so we were working in the office, and the office is where people go to work. And so one day, someone who most of you have heard of, his name rhymes with Schmenden Schmee Schmulligan, shows up at the office, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, because I'm like, I'm a huge fan, but I'm trying to be cool. And like we've met a couple of times, I'm like, whatever, it's fine. And I'm just like, don't make eye contact, just sit here and like write and whatever. And so I'm just like sitting on my computer, and I'm just like, and like he like goes by and he double takes. He's like, Katie? And I was like, and then it was like great, and we had a
Senpai
lovely
noticed
chat. We had a lovely chat, and he was like, "Oh my god, I didn't know you moved to LA." And like we had this like whole conversation. It was great, but I was like internally, I'm like screaming because I'm like, "Be cool, don't be weird, don't be weird, don't be weird, don't be weird." But then at like some point, and that just kept happening, right? And so at some point, I started looking around. I'm like, the people who I look up to and will like fangirl over have become peers. And
Yes.
I still feel like at any point, some like the cops are gonna come kick down my door and be like, "Imposter, accused." And so like the biggest part for me was realizing that like there's no one way into the space. Like you've got like your Matt Mercers and your Brandon Lee Mulligans and those kind of people, but there's also a lot of people like me who are newer or coming into the space, but like I deserve a seat at the table just as much. And I think for me, a lot of it was just internalizing that like I can interact with these people because I am now a peer. And that's weird. That's weird to say. And I still feel a little douchey when I do say it. But yeah, that's my one that I just thought of.
I love it.
And with me, I had this interesting epiphany moment. I was a guest at a con. I was getting treated extremely well, flown in, all these wonderful things. And that has happened for me quite often. Thankfully, I'm blessed in that way. But two of the people that have thousands of followers, just thousands of followers, came up to me, and they were like, basically, kind of like, how did you get here and we're not here? And I was like,
Wait, they asked you this? Hold on, wait.
In the nicest way possible.
Oh, okay.
And
So not very nice.
in the nicest way possible. But I learned something in that moment, because I have never, and I'm not bragging, but I have never reached out and said, "Can you take me on as a guest here?" And I didn't know that was a process that people were doing. So the ones with all these numbers are sending out lookbooks and different things saying, "Would you please take me on as a guest?" Bar Fox is getting calls, and "Would you like to be a guest?" "Oh, let me see if it works." And that was the difference in our walk. And I was actually sitting there dumbfounded, like, "What are you talking about? You asked, could you be here?" Because it was like, "How did you get here?" So they thought I had put out like a deck and had talked to the people and begged, I guess, to be there. And I was like, "That's just not my process." And they were like, "But my numbers are bigger than yours." And I said, "And they are, but I'm the guest here." So I mean, if it's working for me, you do your process, I'll do mine. But it was just a good epiphany moment for me to say, "Bar, just stay the course," because for whatever reason, the all the numbers is not your walk, but the connection and being someone that people can count on in your voice and how you elevate other people is your walk. So stay with it.
Well, you got to add on to it. I saw you moving.
I was gonna add onto that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now I'll let you go, and then I'm gonna bother you again.
All right.
All right, cool.
Yeah, well, just kind of like to jump on that, it's so cool that there is not one paved path to where you're trying to go. Like some people, submit and apply to do things, and some people get called on, some people get like, just like noticed and recognized and stuff like that. But also to kind of like what you were saying too, it's like, someone else's greatness doesn't take anything away from your greatness, right? Like just because these people are so cool or so famous or so talented, that doesn't mean that you're any less like talented or cool. And your own talents and knowing your own talents and being proud of your talents doesn't take that away from anyone else. Like I think we should all be really, really proud of what we're accomplishing and who we are, because like there's enough to go around, right? Like it's like infinite in the universe how much coolness and talent there is, and we just got to tap into our own.
Go ahead. I wanted you to add on to.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to thank you.
No, thank you.
But I was going to say about the numbers thing. Sometimes the numbers can be a little bit deceptive. Being primarily on TikTok, most of the people that I know who have sizable accounts, there would be a point where they would make a video, excuse me, and the video would blow up, and they would get a ton of followers at that point, and then it would just sort of add on from that point and grow and grow. My experience has been just more gradual growth. I've never had a video really blow up and become super viral. And so over the course of almost 3 years, I've just gradually, organically grown the following. And I've found that I have, I currently have, I think it's just under like 23,000 followers on TikTok, which in the big scheme of things, like that's a lot of people, but it's not anything compared to like there. But I get a ton of engagement on my videos because it's grown organically, and that's really the important thing, as opposed to the raw numbers that you want to see, whether people are watching what you're doing, whether they're engaging, whether they want to contact you. And that really, I think that speaks a lot to what you were saying, that people feel a connection, like they might follow once for one video, but then not follow other things that you do. But as opposed to, they see the trend of what you're doing, they see your overall vision and your project and your goals, what you want to do, and they want to support you with that. And that's the really important thing that will get you places, is even if your numbers are lower, you might have more engaged followers than people who have huger numbers.
I love it. This is why guests are amazing. I don't even have to do this panel. Y'all are just doing it for me. I want to say, if you want me to give you time.
No.
You got me? Okay.
So, if I could understand the question a little
I
more.
got you.
it's like-
Yeah. So for me, I like to think of this panel as a beacon of hope, because I know a lot of people think you have to have a lot of numbers to do amazing things and be around amazing people. But clearly by our panel here, we cover that whole range. And some of us, we don't hit those numbers, but we're still doing the same thing. And I wonder if you've ever had that moment. Or on the flip side, if you want to go, down the dark path with me.
I have the numbers.
Oh.
No.
Yeah. See, and flex on them.
Yeah.
But also there's that, man, I'm doing this job and it's not necessarily currently adding to like my community or what I'm trying to build. I'm doing it because I have to.
In the process of taking on the 442nd and this story with Japanese Americans, there's sort of two halves already. I haven't even put out the final product yet. I am not a historian. I am not a World War II researcher and all that. It was a small story that when I first discovered it, I'm like, oh, it's still kind of pertinent, and maybe I can do it in like 5 or 6 issues worth of work, and et cetera, so forth, and kind of put something out into the world. I had no idea. Like I do superheroes and fantasy and that stuff. At conventions like this, dozens of people want my autograph, and y'all come to see me.
I want to.
Yeah, and then during this process, I got thrown into in the process of interviewing with museums and Japanese American cultural community. They've asked me to go on podcasts and Q&As and things like that, and that's a whole nother reset. Yeah. For me. And one of the first things I remember hearing kind of consistently were people, doing something like this, and they're going, "Oh, thank you for being a spokesperson. Thank you for standing up for us. Thank you for being a." I'm like, I'm just a comic book artist. I just put color on paper and, trade it for other colored paper. Um, so that kind of caught me off guard. And then the second half of that was me coming to terms with I'm proud of my heritage and everything what it is, but I am not a voice of AIPI.
You are not a monolith.
I'm not.
Yeah.
But in order for me to get comfortable with the fact that people were seeing me in that sense in some of these categories, I had to make sure that I felt comfortable with that. So I spent a year doing as much as I could to prepare myself in terms of research, going to my story takes place in France and actually traveling to the little towns in France and standing in the foxholes that are still there, walking in the same forest, traveling to Manzanar, the first internment camp, doing these things because people would ask me, oh, have you been here? Have you done this? Have you gone here? Going to a World War II reenactment just for the visual research and everything else and kind of starting. And that doesn't, I'm an artist, right? I got to put out, cool pictures of whatever the latest Netflix or Disney show is just to kind of stay kind of relevant. And here I am in a small town in the middle of nowhere, like walking through a forest and trying to be inspired just to say I kind of did it and take this story to the next step. And so still, sometimes getting used to that, but I'm getting more comfortable with it after throwing myself into that. But it is a challenge because you have to do something that makes you feel okay with whatever, title, role, definition that you're trying to do to be authentic to yourself, your vision, as you said. Yeah, it's still a challenge.
Okay, I'm gonna be the one who says that Tony wins. Because if we're going, because I can't imagine. I'm like, man, I just want to draw a cute little Grogu right now, but I gotta go and I have to dive into this history that has so much weight. Hey, I'm right. Just in those cold nights, I'm here holding your hand. Okay, I got you. I got you.
Thank you.
There
are moments it feels like that.
Yes.
To be fair.
See? Like
it hits.
That's what I'm taught. Like that's the stuff. Like where you're like, man, I'm doing this thing right now, and it's amazing. I chose this, and you can't blame anybody but yourself. Yeah. But it's also this: you're torn because just to give y'all more fluff, more background, more of what I'm thinking in my head, being on an esports team was not at all in my plan whatsoever. Like Chelsea Bites was supposed to be a nerd that sat up, did a PC build once a month, played games the whole month. We talked about like all this, like all the new CPUs and things that dropped, the GPU, all the cool little nerdy. Yeah. Wow. Is that desk liquid cool? Crazy. That was supposed to be Chelsea Bites. But you go back to what your path of success you think that looks like. And when I was offered that, I was like, this stuff doesn't just fall out of trees. Like people, I see people on my Twitter begging to be on esports teams. I had a friend that was tweeting every day, every single day. I want to be a part of TCM, and bless you. I want to be a part of TSM. I want to be on TSM. I want to be on TSM. And y'all, I'm too prideful. I don't. I'm like, I already know how these businesses move. They deserved him. They deserved him more than he deserved them. Like this, honestly. But with that, I think the last topic that I want to hit on is I felt a guilt from time to time, and I think this kind of comes from you can feel guilty for yourself, like what you're supposed to be doing, or what you'd rather be doing right now. And you're like, man, how did I put myself in this situation where I'm working on this? And it's not that I don't want to do it, but I'd rather be doing this too. Like, right? I'm going to be real. Sometimes I'd rather be tearing up a computer and 3D printing some stuff. I just don't have time. Like, I can't imagine writing books and out here being a therapist. Oh my God, thank you so much. And you out here making these amazing shows and doing these shows and writing and how do you find that time? I guess I don't want to dive into, the time balance of it all, because that's a whole nother panel. But have y'all ever sat back and been like, oh, I did this to me. I can
Oh,
just verbally.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I
It's
did
my
that.
fault.
Absolutely.
It's my fault.
That's my
Yeah.
I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah.
I'm the problem. It's me.
I have literally sat in situations, looked at myself and said, "What the H are you doing? I'm not doing this anymore this week. I know I have to get it done. I know this is how I eat, but I have got to stop and do something to feed my soul and not just pay these bills." I've done it religiously more often than I probably should admit.
No, that's
But I like
That's what keeps me on my creative side though. I have to plug in. But when I get to that point when I need to plug in, I really am short. I'm like, get out my face with this other stuff.
stop.
And that's not a great place to be because that's what pays the bills. But I'm like, I can't. I need some time.
It's the balance.
I feel that I had a glib comment of like I like to blame past Tony and pass the buck to future Tony. But I do give I get that like, hey, I need to do something for myself, and who am I do give myself the authority from time to time to be like, hey, I've done like 3 or 4 shows in a row. I'm taking these 2 days. What do I want to paint? What do I want to do something? Or if there's something happening in the world and there's something that like really I'm like, okay, how would I say what I want to say as an artist? So there's a few things out there with what's happened in the world that I'm not happy with. That occasionally you'll see. This is my art for art's sake, not art for pop art's sake or for a fandom or whatever else. This is just this. So I think it's a very important thing as well to figure out. We're talking about find your authentic self that you guys mentioned, like, but also to do something for your authentic self from time to time.
Katie kind of said it already. She said, "Man, I'm not streaming this no more. All right,
Yeah.
I did this to myself, Whew.
Yeah.
But I did it." I'm gonna go ahead and open up the mic, please, because y'all are gonna ask more interesting questions than I will. Hi, what's your
Okay,
name?
Hello, I'm Dallas.
Hi, Dallas.
First, Katie, I wanted to just say I liked your dog video.
Oh, thank you so much.
And second, for the whole panel, I guess, it seems like there's certain sort of community sort of number like break points in terms of like once you get to a certain number of people in sort of a area, like there's a different sort of modality of interaction. I'm wondering if like you have experience of those sort of transitions and how they sort of go about and like your thoughts on that.
So when y'all hit, so I'm assuming Dallas, when people start hitting certain numbers, how they transition with interaction with their communities. Is that what you thank you? Hopefully that helped y'all out. Cause straight up, I'll lead with this one. I was just like, yeah, y'all, it's too many of y'all. I can't talk to all y'all at the same time. You're gonna catch me on Twitch at this time, and I might drop some pictures for you. It's all communication. I over communicated with them whenever I was going somewhere and I wanted them to be involved, or I wanted them to catch a stream, or I wanted to share those pictures. I let them know during my streams, I let them know during any stories, and I talked to them in Discord like weeks before. So I didn't owe them that, but it just helped them stay on the same page, and it made me feel good. So like if you missed it, I'm like, maybe you weren't looking. Y'all got anything to add to that? Anybody?
Go ahead.
I was going to just say, coming from the world that I come from, I really still stand by having, I guess, my show identity and then my personal life. And the show person or that other entity, you get that person's experience. You get to tap into that person's world. I'm not letting you into all of this other stuff. I do think as content creators, we need to be protective of a portion, at least a portion of our lives. I know you get to get into a lot of it, but you have to protect it. So with me, my conversation stays primarily the same because you're not going into if I broke up with someone and all that stuff. And I understand that works for a lot of people and that could be their brand, but it's just not my brand. And if you understand your brand, you stick with that and you keep that there unless it changes or you change it, but stick with your brand.
In my experience, yes, absolutely. There was I remember very specifically they were sort of like points. And for me, those numbers were like 1,000 followers. That was like the first time where I was like, okay, like some people are listening. Then I got to about I think like 50 and 50K, and I was like, okay, like yeah, okay, this is something's happening. When I got to 150,000, people start. I'm sorry, I'm throwing around these pretentious numbers. People started like, oh, she's, like, okay, I started getting like calls from like the media. When I hit 1 million followers, people started treating me differently in a way that I didn't like. I don't like how people treat me when they see my numbers, because I'm still the person who is making videos for 50 followers,
Yeah.
And recently like I get like analytics and stuff, and at some point somebody told me, they're like, hey, did you know that you've broken 500 million views across like all of your content and all of your platforms and that kind of stuff? And it was weird, right? Like that's a huge weird number to think about. And I think that it really impacted the way that I had to make content and treat my content, because there's a responsibility that comes with having a platform of a certain size. I cannot tell you what that size is, but I can say that like there have been times where I thought I was doing something really nice. I was like, oh, I'm going to shout out this like Etsy seller that I like or whatever. And I would sell out their store in like a couple of days. And one time I got an email from this girl, and because I loved her stuff. I loved her brand. I thought her stuff was really cute. I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, this is who made my sweater, like whatever, made a video and everybody bought it. And she emailed me. She's like, hey, I know that you thought you were doing something nice, but now I have no stock and I have shows coming up and I have like orders that I was supposed to meet, and I really appreciate it. But like, if you're going to do something like that, you need to understand the impact that it's going to have on the person. So you have to be more responsible. And that is a lesson that really stuck with me, that even when you think you're doing something nice, even when you think you're, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to shout my friend out. Does your friend want 1 million people looking at their content? Like
You're
that
like
kind
the
of thing.
evil genie.
Yeah,
It's
it really is. It's a monkey's paw.
Yeah.
Like I'm so grateful for my success, and I wouldn't change it for the world, but it is a huge pressure and a huge responsibility to know that like at any point of any time, 2 million people are looking at me and going like, what is she going to do next? Like, what if she says the wrong thing, or like whatever, not to be like doom and gloom about it, but yeah, there's absolutely a responsibility that comes with having a larger platform. Sorry, that was a really long answer.
Building
answer.
yourself versus your community is very important to distinguish too. I'm gonna give y'all context. There's something I want y'all to take home from this. So, isn't she cute? I love her sunflowers. Sorry, I get distracted really easily. I love what Katie and everybody has added to this conversation of how they've made these choices and they've done these things to go and add to their personal cups, but also what they've done to feed their professional careers, their communities, their bosses, whatever. Because in the end, what we choose, what we do is going to add to us. Like that's our face. Like that everything, the way we interact with people, the emails we write, when we go on set or when we meet these people in person, like they see our face. And I want to empower y'all to understand that you don't need those numbers to make a good impression. Building yourself helps you survive. Your community can tap in anytime. Wherever you're live, whatever you're posting, they have the luxury, and it is a luxury to be a part of your community, all of yours. They get the luxury of tapping in and seeing what you're doing, but you do have to go out there and feed yourself. So I want y'all to feel empowered and not think that you have to have 1 million followers. You have to have 20,000. You go and you make a good impression. You build your resume, because that's how I started. When I was at 10K, I was out here doing stuff that people with 50K had. When I was at 20K, I was doing stuff that 500,000 people had. Like that is the power of word of mouth. And however you mix and match it, because everybody has success in different ways. Because if you can go and have 1 million followers, you're still going to be picking your personal stuff. You still have to decide how to drive your shit. So with that, I want y'all to take these experiences and understand this is very well going to be your burden too. It's going to be a good burden though. It's a good problem to have. I promise. You're going to be picking your creative, what your next gig is going to be, and how you strike that balance. I hope their stories have given you a light and like just a glimpse. You can see some of yourself from them. But I want to make sure y'all ain't got nothing else to add, because we got 7 minutes. Y'all any other questions? Yeah? Anybody? Y'all? Yeah, come on up. I done talked this whole time. It's time for y'all to talk.
Hi, I'm Jimmy. I'm actually a lymphatic therapist, and I
Hey.
would be really interested in how you balance. Like, I'm trying to learn how to do like a slice of life kind of thing, because like I haven't really started a channel or anything, but I'm thinking about it, and just like how do I balance my professional massage and lymphatic life along with like what kind of content is going to kind of do a bit of diagram, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's really important to kind of reflect within yourself of like how much of your genuine experience and stuff you're wanting to put out there. Like, are you wanting people to learn from what you've learned from what your experiences have been, or from like what your expertise is? Because those can look very different. Like in the content that I create on Instagram, it's very much like this is me as a person who is neurodivergent. This is me as a person who is a cosplayer. I'm not your therapist, but if you can learn from me, here's this. Here's something I learned that I thought was super cool that I think you would benefit from. But really think about like what your goal is, like what is your mission statement with it, right? Like, do you want people to feel seen by you, to see themselves in you? Do you want people to learn from you? Do you want to be an educator? I would really just think about like what you want the end goal to be from what they get, and also like figure out if that feels sustainable for you.
Jimmy, I can't believe you raised your hand like that. You were like, I guess I have a question. That was an excellent question. That was such a good question.
I can
From
tack on
Army.
just a little bit to that. One of the things that one of the things I heard at one point, and I try to bring into my daily life, was be the person you needed when you were younger or when you started off on this journey, and whatever
That's what I
else. And so, I think that also applies to some of the content that we put out there, right? Do you want to tell the person that is starting at at the beginning of the journey that you had, hey, don't take it so seriously, here's a little slice of life and the fun things that wait and funny things that happen for you? Or is like, hey, here's the things that you should be concerned about? Or is it, what are those things that you could provide now, looking back, to help the person that you were?
Absolutely.
And that is a good way to also look at it.
Exactly. Yeah, beautiful change. Yes, I do.
Stream cute. Stream.
We didn't forget you, Stream.
cute.
Yeah, Stream cues.
I have no idea how long I have this. Okay, so from Rappaport, deep. What are the steps the panelists take to build their communities and mitigate parasocial situations?
How long do you have?
Yeah. I think we found the topic for the next panel.
Yeah. Anybody want to go? Because I'm happy to take the shield up, y'all. But please, yes.
It's been a weird thing because I don't have, like I was saying before, the numbers that a lot of other people have, but I have an excellent community that has grown around my content that I create. And I started creating a lot of content to help specifically newer authors with writing, with the process of indie publishing, the business of it, all of that. And I've gotten a really good following for that. And it's a little bit weird as far as the parasocial thing, because in everyday life, like normal stuff, I just do whatever and nobody knows who I am. In very specific situations, like when I go to a book specific convention, people know who I am there and they've seen my videos and they have a relationship with me, and I might not know who they are. And it's become a little bit strange because I've realized I can't go to those kinds of conventions as just an attendee anymore. I'll go in and I'll sit and be watching a panel, and I'll realize people are watching me instead of the panel to see how I react to what people are saying, because it's stuff that I'll make videos about. And so when I do that, I have to actually now get on panels and be like officially there. But at the same time, I love hearing from people who do benefit from the stuff that I put out there, and I love talking with them. But there is a little bit of a balance that people will feel a connection with me when I don't know them yet. And what I try to do is I try to keep boundaries in place. I think you were saying earlier that there are boundaries you keep from your personal life versus what you want to present in your content. I definitely keep those there, but I also do try to be welcoming to people who follow me, who benefit from my content, who appreciate what I do. And I try to make my brand on my TikTok, and everywhere that I go, I actually have my slogan is be kind, be generous, and have empathy. And that's what I try to put out there with everything that I do. But at the same time, it's important to maintain those boundaries so that the people who see that message and try to follow that don't sort of cross over to where you're uncomfortable. And for example, with those conventions I was going to, I figured out the way to do that is to more prominently have that boundary by becoming like official staff or being a panelist or something, as opposed to just an attendee in those specific situations.
Bring a friend, please. That too. You need friends who will advocate for you. That was excellent. Please, please, please. Once you start to elevate your content, I want to say your status in your community, because you're no longer just a peer, or you're no longer just someone who observes or consumes. You are now you're shaping that community. So exactly what they said. Hop in and claim that title. That's a beautiful question. Thank you so much, Stream. You're wonderful. All right, y'all. Time is up. I want to let our panelists, because it's going to be on the stream, because I just realized on our panel description we don't have y'all's names. So please, I want you to tell Stream where they're going to find you and what you're working on next.
You can find me online on Instagram, TikTok, and sometimes Twitch at Tony_Moy, or if you just look up Tony Moy, I'm the only one that comes up, and I usurp the first page of Google.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
I am Kate Osborne. You can find me at Katieosaurus across all platforms. Hello, Stream. I am begging you to listen to my podcast. Sorry, I missed this on understood.org, so they keep me employed. You can also find me in Playboy Magazine now. And I do a lot of stuff. I've got a book coming out next year, so that will take a look for that. It's called You're Not a F Up. And so, yeah, that is me.
I am Jason Doro, and on most social media, I'm Jason Doro, author. That's spelled DOROUGH. And I have my website is jasondoro.com. I'm mostly active on TikTok and Threads right now, but I'm elsewhere as well. And you can find my books on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, TikTok Shop, wherever else. And for anybody in the room that wants a card, I have that I can give you afterwards, because my last name is easy to remember, to forget, actually. So that's who I am.
I am Bar Fox across all social media. That is 2 R's and 2 X's. You can see one of my things I just did on Good Day Atlanta for Dragon Con. It was so great. Please check it out. It's with Paul Milliken. It's Good Day Atlanta on Fox 5. And you can also check out the Cosplay Your Way in Color documentary if you have Amazon Prime, Tubi, and I think there's a place called Stash. I wasn't familiar with that, but I like what I saw. So please check it out, and please follow me. Check out some of my shows. Again, I tell you some of the racy shows off the stream if you want to watch them. They have some edge to them, but they're fun.
Cool. I'm Nick Lyle, or Cosplay and Optimism on Instagram. You can find me at cosplay.and.optimism.
Oh my gosh. And I was Chelsea Bites. Just Google me. I'm just here to make sure that y'all get to see these amazing people here on this panel. I do a whole bunch of stuff, but girl, nice to meet you guys. Thank you so much for joining our panel. Y'all are wonderful. Thank y'all for joining. Y'all are amazing. Now my husband's gonna take a picture of us, if y'all don't mind. Just a tight second.
You have to give one of these away.
Yes, we do have to give one of these away. How do you want to handle this?
Pick a number 1 through 12.
6.
Pick a number 1 through 30.
Me?
Yeah.
17.
Whose birthday is closest to this? 6/17, June 17th.
Anybody's birthday? Hey.
June 17th.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Oh yeah, they're good. Don't fall. All right, everybody ready